Increase your fire department's efficiency with PS Tracks, the cloud-based software program that helps bring digital asset management to your crews. Discover how advanced tech streamlines equipment tracking, maintenance, and reporting. Get pricing or request a demo for your department today. Hi, Chris McLoone here with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Welcome to this episode of our new podcast. I will eventually stop calling it the new podcast, but for now, since we're only on episode number 6 or 7 here, we'll stick with it being new. Today, I have on again. These two should be familiar to you if you've been following this along the way. We've got Ricky Riley from the Prince George's County, Maryland Fire and EMS Department with us, and Mark Aronberg from the FDNY with us. Today, we're going to be talking about fleet maintenance once again. But we're going to talk about it from a little different perspective. We're going to talk about how the current, what we talked about last time, which was the current apparatus purchasing environment, is impacting fleet maintenance operations right now. So, Ricky, I'll start with you, and then Mark, would you guys just introduce yourselves real quick, and then we'll get into this. Ricky?
Hi, I'm the smaller department of the two. My name is Ricky Riley. I'm the fire apparatus manager for the Prince George's County Fire and EMS Department in Prince George's County, Maryland. We have about a little over 600 vehicles in the fleet, from Segways to tiller trucks to fireboats, and tons of ambulances. And we provide maintenance for those along with our vendors, and that's us.
Mark?
Hey, good afternoon. Mark Aronberg. I'm the Assistant Fire Commissioner for the FDNY's Fleet Services Bureau. Pretty much the same as Rick, just on a little bit of a larger scale. We run the gamut of vehicles, from gators and scooters and small off-road vehicles all the way up to 95-foot tower ladders. At the moment, we're running about 2,700 vehicles, about 750 ambulances, about 750 pieces of fire apparatus, and the rest is a mixed bag of chief's cars and utility vehicles, trades vehicles, and the such. And, just facing the same challenges as Rick and everybody else out here, trying to keep things moving.
All right. So I want to talk first, before we get into exactly, kind of what you are experiencing because of what we are going through right now on the apparatus purchasing side. I wanted to talk just about sort of the current climate in the shops. I don't mean the temperatures, although we could be talking about temperatures if we're talking about tempers. But, I'm just talking about how's it going right now? Are you seeing increases, or is this, it could just be that this is a bad time of year, so I'm getting you on a bad week. But, what's the current climate? I mean, how are the technicians feeling while they're in there? Are they frustrated about the amount of work that's coming in, or are they frustrated about parts problems, so they can't get them back on the road as quick as they want to? Ricky, why don't we start with you? How are things going in your shops right now?
Well, fortunate for me, I have a great team. I can't dote on them enough. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. I've been there, as a manager now for 6 years, and have had zero personnel problems. That's not a late for work. That's not anything. That speaks volumes for the people that we've been fortunate enough to hire, and they're great workers. They care about keeping things in service. They care about the employees. They care about the firefighters that are riding the rigs, and the paramedics that are serving the citizens. And they'll do, work late. They love overtime. What mechanic doesn't love overtime? And they come in all hours of the night and all hours of the morning to get rigs back in service, make sure they stay on the road, because we have an on-call mechanic, not somebody that's staffed 24 hours a day like Mark. So we're just calling them in, get in the service truck and then go take care of this problem. We have a couple that live pretty close by the county, one that lives in county. So I'm just very fortunate with my employees. we turn out a great product, and it's all because of them. I mean, get a lot of accolades, but I'm not the guy out there turning wrenches, and I can't fix an oil leak for you. I can tell you there's an oil leak, but I can't fix it for him. So I watched him replace an oil pan today, and I was like, man, I'm glad I don't have to get that dirty. So and they love it. So I'm great with my employees. We're trying to hire more. The fire chief and the county executive is giving us another position, and we're going to be able to take that employee and work them through the system. He's going to enter it like what we call a mechanic 2, and then get into a heavy mechanic. So, and obviously that's going to all the trade schools. The Hale, the Water School, the Johnson Towers, the Detroit Motors, Cummins, and the Hale Pump Schools. So they're going to go to all those schools. We're going to get them through that education, and obviously that makes them ripe for pickings for the private sector. But we have no choice. So we got to train them. They got to be able to fix fire trucks, and hopefully we make the environment good enough in our shop that they don't want to leave us. So,
Mark, how about you?
Hey, Rick, I'm going to send you my resume because it sounds like things are much friendlier over in your shop than they are in mine.
Man, I've been blessed, man. It is.
Oh, you sure have been, because I'm pretty sure my guys hate me. It's been challenging the last few years. It's been really tough. Like everybody else, one crisis after another. It just seems that since we went through COVID and my shop worked all through COVID when everybody else was shut down, fire service doesn't get to go home. So, we worked and kept the shops up and running, all through COVID. And since then, it just seems to be one thing after another, and been really challenging to catch up and keep up with employees and just managing an acceptable level of vehicles out in the field. As Rick said, we have a great staff, and the folks that come in give us everything they can every day. But it gets tough. We ask them to work overtime every day, and we'll have them come in on their days off. Our shops run around the clock, so it does make it a little bit easier for some folks, because we'll basically let you come in and work whenever you like. We bid out your allotted slot, but if you want to come in and work overtime ahead of your shift, or stay after your shift, or come in on your day off, we'll typically accommodate all of that. But it is then things have changed in the climate of the shop, as you originally asked. We've had a large turnover. I would say probably 60 or 70% of my staff has under 10 years on the job, which is unusual in my shop, where traditionally we had a lot of folks that had a lot of tenure on the job. We've had a lot of folks retiring. They did a lot of hiring in the mid 80s and 90s, and the way our pension system runs, a lot of folks have been retiring over the last 10 years. So a lot of new folks have come in. Takes a while to get them up to speed. Rick mentioned all the different training that our technicians have to go through, and it really is quite a bit. Rick, do you folks do EVT, or you just do your individual trainings?
No, we do not do EVT currently. That'd be a pretty big budget item for us, I would imagine, between the schooling, the travel, but all the the Pierce, the E1s, the Camis, they all provide that. We ask for that training when we buy the rig. So
yep, yeah, we don't do. We have not done EVT yet either. For aside from the expense, it's the time that you lose the folks on the shop floor is really challenging. Where we constantly seem to be running behind on staffing and getting folks hired and processed with budget constraints. we haven't really been able to afford the time to go through that process. But we do much of the same training that Rick had mentioned, all the manufacturer training that we get from our builders, and then what's offered from the component manufacturers, Cummins, Waterous, everybody else that we work with, to keep folks up to speed on new technology that's coming out. Overall, it's summertime is tough in our shop. With the summertime for us comes an increased need for our emergency medical services. So, we're averaging probably 4,500 runs a day, and with the ambulances doing that much running, we get a lot of breakdowns. So we're always trying to keep up on our ambulance fleet, and of course things like air conditioning in the rigs and the ambulances gets to be a challenge, on these long hot days. So we're hanging in there, and Rick, I'm going to shoot your resume as soon as we're done here, pal.
I tell you what, man, I got a great boss, and I'm telling you, man, I'm happy as can be. I just never, because I worked in the fire service for so long, and and I obviously paid a lot of attention to the mechanics that helped come fix the fire truck that I was riding, but I mean I never thought that I would have that same kind of kinship or friendship with a mechanic, and they're just great people. they know their job, and they're not boastful. They come in and they care about getting the rigs out, and making sure people. It's just, I was shocked. This is just a different part of my career that I'm just like, man, they're just as great as the people that are riding the rigs, putting the fires out, and going to medical calls. They're incredible people.
The one thing I really push with my folks is what you do saves lives, and we're not fixing trash trucks, we're not fixing over the road commercial vehicles. Not that those things aren't important, but what my folks and what your folks do in the shop every day saves lives. The ambulance isn't going to get to the heart attack. The ladder truck's not going to be able to make a grab unless we get them there. Unless those rigs are running and we can get them there. That's the only way they can do their job is if we do ours, and our people in the shop really do top-notch work. So it's important, and I stress that all the time, that what they do saves lives.
Now, it sounds like both of you are in pretty good shape, outside of, the challenges that summer brings and, other things. But did either of you experience at all the labor challenges that many other, vocations experienced after and during and after COVID?
Sure. Still are. I think all the trades are having a hard time finding folks to come to work.
I'm more shocked at the and I'm sure Mark has the same problem, is that you put an announcement out, and the amount of applicants is small. And you really got to take a hard good look at them. Make sure the resume is true and backs it up, and have those conversations with them. We try to get, we're fortunate enough we can get the phone number and kind of have a discuss what what you're getting ready to walk into. We've invited them to the shop, come talk to the mechanics. Of course, I'm going to say it's great. It's great. In my office, it's 70 degrees, and it's not 99 degrees out there in the shop. So it's great to me, but go talk to my mechanics. See what they say about it. But I think even the big manufacturers, dealers, and I'm sure Marcus has a ton of them in his area. Those are big time business machines, and they can offer a lot more than Mark and I can. I mean, we can't offer bonuses. We can't change your pay rate or anything like that. But I mean, if they can't hire people, then that says a lot about the workforce. So
now, what are, and we're going to get to the main topic in just a second, but I kind of wanted to build up to it a little bit. What are the challenges you are currently facing keeping your rigs on the road, whether it's the fire trucks or whether it's the ambulance? Is it just sheer volume of work? Is it that their age is just making them have more mechanical issues? What are the challenges right now that you're facing the most with keeping your rigs on the road? I'll start with you this time, Mark.
It's a little bit of all of that. One of the things I was proud of a few years ago is that we had really gotten a good handle on the age of our fleet. Apparatus was running about 6.5 years old, and our ambulance fleet was about 4.5 years old, which was great for us. Since COVID, since the supply chain issues, now all of our manufacturers are a year or better behind on getting deliveries out. So, we've gotten backed up on ambulances, we've gotten backed up on apparatus. So holding on to an older fleet and running it the way we do certainly causes an increase in off-service time. And as that off-service time creeps up, more delays in getting rigs turned around, so they're waiting to be seen longer. We've just, the line out the door has grown because the staffing has remained the same, or actually gotten smaller, because we're still losing folks, to either career changes or retirements.
How about you, Ricky? What are the biggest challenges that you're facing keeping the rigs on the road right now?
I mean, today it's a lack of, we don't have enough Freon carts to get all the ambulances. They're all waiting in line. So, yeah. But I mean, it's the challenge is same as Mark's. I mean, and it should be, and it's for anybody. I mean, even consulting with fire departments on buying apparatus is like, they hey, this is the year we need to buy a ladder truck. And that's great, but then we got to wait 3.5 years to get it, or 3 years to get it. And now, now it's a 17-year rig, and now it's just we had a great plan. I mean, we had the certain amount of money would come every year. We were able to divvy up between apparatus and ambulances and cars, and now we're backed up on fire trucks. I mean, somebody go, it's a minuscule number to what Mark orders, but when you got 8 or 9, 10 engines on order, that sounds like a lot. But I'm really supposed to have 5 in, 5 on order, and 5 on deck to go get ordered, so we can keep that flow going, because we're running paramedic engines and ambulances. I'm 2 budget cycles back waiting for those ambulances to be delivered. I mean, it's insane is the word for it. I mean, I wish somebody, it's in Washington, D.C., it's not far from where we work, because we'd kind of open their eyes up and go, man, what is going on that, that we can't get, chassis, and there's a couple manufacturers that, nope, we're not even going to sell you a chassis. You got to go, hey, go find it on a lot somewhere. Then we'll build a box for you. I mean, that's just kind of unheard of, especially like in an ambulance industry. But so, I mean, we're behind. I mean, we're going to have, we have a meeting next month with the fire chief and her staff, and just to go, hey, look, this is bad. I mean, we're running a reserve squad that's 20 some odd, 21, 22 years old, and that thing breaks every time somebody gets in it. So I'm like, hey man, don't run the heavy rescue on too many calls, because if it breaks down today, it'll be 3 years before I can get you another one. So I mean, you just gotta, now it's me recommending to the operations people, hey, look, we got to balance run call volume. We got to balance, this is something new. I mean, we wouldn't think about that, when the call gets dispatched, that's the truck that goes. Well, no, the one that's $1.7 million, let's kind of take it easy on that one, because it's got to last for a lot longer than it used to have to, because we can't get one. So that climate is it's something I haven't experienced before. And I've been doing this a long time, just like I'm sure Mark has. And I have my favorite fire truck dealer or fire truck manufacturer, but they can't keep up, and and none of them can. I mean, look at some of Mark's. It's just incredible that they can't keep up with our demands.
Yeah.
So.
Would you say that, so when we talk about that current apparatus purchasing environment and how it impacts the fleet management and the fleet maintenance, is that the biggest, is that the thing that's impacting you most, the lead times, or are there other aspects of the current environment that are also making it difficult for you to keep current rigs on the road and keep not necessarily the replacement, but keeping up with the maintenance problems?
Well, I mean, the lead times are crushing us, but I'm sure it's crushing Mark just like they're crushing me. But I mean, because now I have to keep a unit in service that's older, and now trying to get that repaired. And I think we've said it before in the show when a couple weeks ago, was that, hey, look, we're really good at eBay now. We're really good at Amazon. Or hey, we call a vendor and hey, in fact, this oil pan that we talked about, we had to get that from Denver. I mean, how does a dealer, a motor dealer, remain nameless, not have an oil pan for a popular motor? I mean, it's not like it's an old motor. I mean, this is a 3-year motor. How do they not have it? And believe me, it's not built the way it used to be. I mean, Mark may specify like a metal pan. This is like glorified plastic. It's on this oil pan, and how is that not available? It's just, it's crazy. I mean, I mean, we talked about parts. You said something about parts earlier, and I was laughing because I'll walk out into the shop and the mechanics will be on their on their iPhones or something like that, and I always accuse them of TikToking. But I'm like, what's going on? Waiting on parts. That's their line now, is that, hey man, I can't fix anything if I don't have parts, and they're right. So
yeah.
Are you down to everybody's got reserve fleets? Are you guys down to your second reserve fleet sometimes because now the reserve rig is which is typically going to be an older one to begin with, is now out of service, and that's even harder to find the parts for? Because it sounds like you're having trouble finding parts, not only for the newer rigs that are currently in first line service, but also the older one. You would think it would, it comes with time. Parts get harder to find the older the trucks get. But right now, I mean, it seems like you're even having trouble finding stuff for the newer stuff. Is that pretty accurate? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have watched New York for a long time, and how they buy things. We do that on a smaller scale. Is that, hey, we're going to buy 4 engines and 3 ladder trucks or whatever, and we're going to buy bumpers. We're going to buy airbags for the suspension. We're going to buy switches. We're going to put all that into the contract. But you know what? They go through them. So that's why you buy them. And, they just now trying to get that stuff re-put back on the shelves is, I tell the parts guy, hey, if we break one widget, order 3, and because Mark and I aren't, the dealers, their inventory is taxable. I mean, it's a business. Mark and I, our inventory isn't taxable. It's our government money that we spend, and we put stuff on the shelf. But that, I think, and he can attest to that better than I can, because I learned it from how they operate, is that, having that part on the shelf is important to getting fire trucks on the road. So
we have, you have lead times on things like rear ends on axles. It's a 33-week lead time for an axle. So, who can afford to sign line a rig, for half a year, waiting for a part? But to your point, the parts for newer vehicles are just as difficult to get as for the older. We've got better than 60 ambulances that are at Ford dealers for warranty repair, most of them waiting for parts. Ford won't use aftermarket parts to do a warranty repair. They'll only use their own parts, and they can't get their own parts. Compressors, turbos, pumps. Ford dealers can't get Ford parts to do repairs. So, we've gotten an inordinate number of vehicles that are sidelined just for that. and there's really no, they're under warranty. There's really no getting around that. So, we're forced to wait. On our other vehicles that are out of warranty, we can, we can do as Rick mentioned, and start searching the web and see what you can best find to get that vehicle up and running again. But that's really a challenge. Aside from the delay in new vehicle delivery, my two largest issues are parts availability and staffing. Finding qualified folks and retaining them, and putting parts in their hand so that they can do those repairs. That's really become a big problem, because we've turned to salvaging parts from other vehicles, either vehicles that are going to be relinquished, or vehicles that we know that are out for long-term repair. Maybe something that's been in a crash that's got a part that we need. We'll have our mechanics go take a part out of that truck to get another rig back in service. But now they're doing that work twice. And the rig that they're taking that part out of, now we've got to get a part back in there, before it can go to the body shop. So, we're doing work 2 and 3 times over just to keep a handle on off service time.
So you're waiting longer to be, the orders you're placing is taking longer to get those newer rigs in. So you're keeping current first line rigs in service longer than you wanted to, which means the reserve rigs, which hopefully would be going away, and the current frontline rigs would be going to, are forced to stay in service longer as well. But in doing that, like Ricky said, they're breaking down every time somebody gets into them. So, what how long do you go before you go, this truck is, beyond salvageable? And then what is that going to do to the operations of the department at that point, when like now you're running out of reserve rigs? At what point are you saying, like, no, this one's done, there's just no saving it? And then what is going to happen to the operations at that point?
We're fixing things we wouldn't have in the past. I can definitely say that.
Okay.
We're doing larger crash repairs where perhaps I would have relinquished the vehicle instead of doing a major crash repair. Now, when you're 3 years out from getting it replaced, you don't have a choice. And we're doing mechanical repairs, particularly on our light duty fleet, on vehicles that we would have relinquished in the past, rather than doing a motor or a transmission, because they're not available. We've got to fix them and keep them on the road.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I mean, we have no choice. We were trying to phase out, because we're a combination department, and older vehicles. So whether it be career or volunteer, if it reaches age, what I always try to say, hey, you're one major repair from being what we call deadline, where we would take it out of service, and the corporation would sell it, or the career fire department would set it into auction. But we were on a pretty good program for that, and now this hit, and we put a screeching stop to it. But now we're budgeted for like the next 2 years for this amount of repairs, and we're going to spend this much because we're going to try to keep older rigs in service and keep them on the road. And we can't, like Mark said, I can't get rid of that truck that's 17, 18, 19 years old now, because I don't know when I'm going to get another one in the reserve fleet to replace it. It's just it's not good. Those rigs are tired for a reason. So they all get tired and they get worn out, and now it's just what's going to break next, and so.
Well, we talked last time I had you guys on along with Ed Rice. We talked about the increased prices of rigs that are being delivered right now. Has the replacement parts have the replacement parts costs also increased, and how is that impacting your operation there?
Huge increases. the same level of increases that you're seeing on new rigs, you're seeing in components, and it's blowing out the budget. For sure. We've had components that have gone up 600% in price. And, some of it legitimate and some of it I think is just been companies that weren't struggling and just jumping on the bandwagon because they're seeing everyone else raising their prices. So they're going along, with that trend. But with increased labor costs on their side, they've got to compensate for that, and it seems like raw materials in every industry have gone up, but parts have gone up dramatically, and our budget is suffering for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I get to see all that firsthand. I mean, I physically sign every purchase order. So the only reason I do that is to make me look at it. So I sign it with a pen, not so while I'm signing it, I'm looking at what that costs. And that's where I get that glaring smack in the face that, hey, this valve, last year was $200. It's $600 today. Why is this bill from my vendor, whether it be my fire truck manufacturer, my ambulance manufacturer, or my third-party repair agency that we use a lot, is that why is it so much money? Now, obviously, a lot of it's labor cost. I've watched labor costs go from $104 to $164, an hour. And I can only imagine what it is in New York, if it's that much in Washington and in the Washington area. And then I just the nitpickingness and the down to the penny, and it's not even pennies, it's dollars. They keep charging us, and I don't know how the repair budgets are going to keep up. I mean, we keep trying to raise the flag, and we'll have that discussion next month with the bosses. But living in a budget is not, you can't do it anymore. I was at budget for like 4 or 5 years, and now I'm going over. I'm like, it's not our fault. We're repairing the same amount of trucks, but the parts and the people are costing us more money.
Yep. Sure.
I think the most important thing here, and you guys have both touched on things as we've been talking, but the most important thing here, I think, is whatever the outside influences are, and right now it's the apparatus environment, purchasing environment we're in is one of the things that is impacting your maintenance operations. But it'll be something else in 3 years. At least I hope the situation we're in with apparatus purchasing changes in 3 years. But theoretically, it should be something different this year, and we always adapt. What are you both doing right now, Mark? You mentioned, well, we're fixing things we never fixed before. But what are some of the other things, if there are any, that you're both doing to address the challenges that the lack of availability of new rigs has created for your fleet maintenance division and for just managing that fleet in general? Ricky, start with you on that one.
I think I understand your question. I mean, I feel like we're not doing planning anymore. It's all reactionary. It's what's the crisis of the day is, and it's not a crisis created by us. I mean, it's not a lack of planning. Like Mark, we have a replacement plan. We know how much money we spend, replacing motors and tires and, valves and pumps. We know that we all have plenty of historical data, but then, just to have a vendor or a manufacturer or somebody come in and just say, yep, it's going to cost you, $400 or $500 more. And by the way, it's going to take 5 months to get, and your rig or your ambulance is going to sit out of service for another 4 or 5 months. And how that impacts the fleet is, when we're down to like 1 or 2 reserve ambulances, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, that is, I don't break as many as Mark, but I mean, we can compare them in our sizes that,
Sure.
If I have 2, I'm having a crisis. It could be 20 or, 40 for him. But when you get to that crisis point, is it, hey, how many mechanics can I really call in? And can I really have an impact on what's actually broken? And are they going to be able to fix it? Is it something big? Is it a motor issue, or is it something we can fix? And get stuff in service. But then guess what I'm doing? I'm running through my overtime budget. So
So
guys,
the steps you're taking are possibly needing to bring in more people, going through the overtime, but like to address the challenges that you have right now. If I'm reading you right, it's unfortunately right now you almost have to take each challenge as it presents itself because there's a lot of reaction going on versus being able to be proactive because what's hitting you today is not going to probably hit you tomorrow. It's just not the same. But to address it, like Mark said, he's fixing things he didn't fix before. For you, it's basically calling in the personnel to try to get ahead of where you're at. I mean, is that like how are you addressing the challenges that the lack of new trucks is creating for your fleet and for the maintenance of that fleet?
I mean, it's the repairs. I mean, we can throw people at it, and we're never going to turn people down. But we don't have a 24-hour shift like Mark has. We don't. So I mean, our people are they're going to do their 8-hour day, and in the summertime, 8 hours in the shop with no air conditioning. I mean that no firefighter has to endure that because there's air conditioning somewhere. They're going to find it. It's either in the truck or in the firehouse. They're going to find the air conditioning. Those mechanics don't get it, and then you're going to go, hey, go home, kick your feet up, eat some dinner, and guess what? You got to come back in for 3 or 4 hours to fix an ambulance, to fix a fire truck, something like that, and then we're just going to kind of burn our people out. I mean, that's something we definitely keep an eye on. Is that how many? Because unlike Mark, he has people under him. I mean, after hours repairs come through me. I mean, it's we make that decision. You're going to switch into reserve. We're going to send somebody out.
Okay.
And that keeps me engaged with where my people are at. So if they're out on the street, I want to know that. I want to know that they're out at 3:00 in the morning. If they're at a firehouse, they're on the side of a highway, something like that. I kind of want to know where they're at. But that's how I'm going to burn. I can burn those people out. I mean, mechanics like being mechanics, but they like being mechanics, with a regular life also. They all have outside interests. They all have families. They got to have, that's a delicate balance. And Mark's fire department, just like mine, we will burn you out if you give us the chance. We will. There's always something to fix. So go ahead, Mark. Look, I didn't mean to go home with that one, but.
Not at all. The one thing that I did this year, differently is and what was really allowed to do and surprised. We accelerated all of our purchases by a year, so we were able to move up our replacement cycle a full year to account for the extra year that the vendors added to the delivery. So at least. We're behind now, but at least starting next year we'll be more on time with getting rigs replaced because we're able to give the vendor a full year's lead time to get the components ordered and add our trucks to their schedule. So that's a help.
I mean, you have some pretty. I mean, you have a lot of buying power. I mean, I just.
There's no one to buy from, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm not understanding. I mean, who does not?
Problem.
Who doesn't want New York City's order? I mean, that's. I mean, I'm not asking you to name names. I'm just saying. I'm saying, I mean, that's the part that's astonishing. I mean, everybody would court you. I mean, who wouldn't want their fire trucks in New York City? I mean. Other than the small ones, that's the startling part.
The problem is, as appealing as the volume that we do can be to a manufacturer when they look at the numbers, most of them know they can't handle that volume, and they don't want to end up in a situation where they're not able to meet the requirements, or they're turning away customers that they've had for decades just to fill our needs and in the short term, and then they lose their long-term customers. So it's challenging for us to find manufacturers that are willing and able to to fill our orders and deliver them. Very, very challenging.
So, Chris, can I follow up with another one?
Sure.
Now I got questions for Mark. So
Go for it. That's the best part of this.
So I know we decreased our warranty. So I mean, you guys have a pretty robust warranty that you put on your big rigs, for example. Yep. I mean, do you find that the manufacturers? I mean, that's got to put a hurt on them sometimes. I mean,
sure.
Do you stick to that?
It's a challenge for them, but we pay them for it. Frankly, it goes into the purchase price of the rig. So, and aside from that, what it also gives them is for them, after they sell me that rig, they know for sure for the next 15 years they're going to sell me parts for that rig. So, that's a big part of it as well. In the long term, they probably make more in parts and service than they do in the initial purchase price of the rig. So, I'm not feeling bad for them.
Oh no. So, but where do you go? I mean, so I guess. Sorry, Chris. I'm going to hijack.
You're good, man.
This is because. So, who makes a decision that, hey, tower ladder so and so's out of service? It's a warranty issue, and and you're in a bad way. Do you go, hey, don't worry about warranty, just get it back in service?
Yeah, absolutely. We work very closely with our vendors. So, you mentioned our warranty on our new rigs. We have a 5-year bumper to bumper warranty. With that comes the requirement of the manufacturer to have a repair shop within 50 miles of my location, my main shop. And they also have to provide road service. So they're required to respond to the firehouse within 4 hours of being notified to perform a repair when we deem it to be a warranty repair. So there's a problem with the rig, engine company calls in. My shop fields a call. We send one of our road mechanics there. They go take a look at it, and they say, yes, in fact, this is rig needs a starter. It's a 2-year-old rig. It's under warranty. It's a manufacturer problem. So at that point, we would notify the manufacturer, and they would send their mechanic to go perform that repair. So if for whatever reason they can't do that repair, let's say if they don't have the starter, I'll give them one of my starters out of stock so that they can do the repair, and then they'll pay me back that starter. Or if, let's say, their shop is swamped that day and they're already running on 2 other road calls, and they just know, hey, there's just no way we're going to get to this out of service rig. I'll have my techs fix it, and then they'll pay me back. They'll pick up another repair that perhaps wouldn't have fallen into a warranty realm, and you have to work hand in hand with your vendors. That's the only way that they'll succeed and will succeed. We've got to work together to meet the operational need. I have an operational requirement, to get that rig back in service within 4 hours, or switch them into a spare, which we hate to do. The companies don't want to switch over. It's a pain in the neck for them. They don't want to give up their frontline piece, and a lot of work to change over rigs. It can take a couple of hours to move all the tools over and everything else. It's challenging for them. It's not pleasant, and then they know they're gonna lose their assigned piece for a while once it comes into the shop because of the backlog. So we work very closely. And you know what? To your point earlier about the warranties and trying to find a way to entice more vendors to get in the game. I've said flat out to all the vendors that we talk to, and you and I talk to the same folks. Mm-hmm. Everything is on the table. In this day and age, there is no conversation that I will not have with a manufacturer, no matter what it's about. I absolutely will not compromise on the safety of my members. Never. I'll never let anybody build a rig that I don't believe is safe or meets our standards. But everything's on the table. So when we're talking about, building materials and construction practices and even warranty, it's all open for discussion. I've told everyone, let's find a place to meet in the middle so we can do more business and do better business. I would love to get more manufacturers involved in building my products, because it's better for everybody. It's better on price. It's better on deliverables. It can only help me and will certainly help them in the long run. So it's all fair game.
Now, you guys have talked about a lot of stuff here today. I am curious, though, about how your bosses are, how receptive are they when you're explaining? I mean, this is a nationwide issue. It's not just an FDNY problem or a PGFD problem. I mean, this is nationwide. It's a fire service wide thing that's going on right now. Are they understanding what you are telling them? Are they receptive to what you're saying? I mean, you're not just going in there to ask for a gajillion dollars. There are very specific things that you're asking for and specific reasons why. And how much, data is everything. So, when I say receptive, I don't mean like, are they understanding the words that you are saying? I'm saying like how, understanding are they, and willing to work with you on these things. Ricky, you've said you've got like the greatest boss in the world. So I'm assuming the answer is going to be pretty well, or maybe you won't know until you have your meeting next week. But this has been going on for a little while. So in general, how have things gone for you guys as you not only are you trying to navigate all this other stuff, but you have your own department structures that you need to navigate. Mark, why don't we start with you on that one?
The executive leadership is seeing the same issues in all areas. Today we're talking about fleet maintenance, but tomorrow, if you're speaking to the folks in communications or in IT, everyone's having similar issues. Regardless of what commodity you're buying, prices are higher, availability and lead times are longer, and you just can't find folks to get the job done. So I think that they're not just seeing it in the fleet arena, that they're seeing it department wide, and in terms of City Hall, I'm sure they're seeing it from all the agencies, whether it's sanitation or police department or anybody else. Everybody's struggling in a similar fashion. So I think that makes it more believable. If we were the only ones on the block that whose costs were going through the roof, then they'd probably look at us a little harder and say, hey, why are you blowing out the budget and no one else is? But I think with this problem being global, in our arena, if anything, it makes it more believable. It doesn't make it better or easier to deal with, but it does make it more believable. I mean,
like I mean, my big boss. I mean, I would not want to be here. It's my arena is. This is a crisis. This is, hey, this has to be addressed. We need to get more money, because I'm seeing my slice of the pie going, hey, we're not going to be able to get rigs on the road. We're not going to get ambulances on the road. And then, 2 hours after having a meeting with me, her and her staff are having a meeting about not being able to have computers, just like Mark said, or, hey, we're trying to build a new firehouse and we can't get steel, or we can't get a kitchen appliance, which has been the case. But I can't imagine all the balls they're juggling, and then having to deal with county or city politics to figure out who gets that money, who cries, not cries, but whatever squeaky wheel is going to get the grease. But there's a lot of squeaky wheels. I don't know if there's enough grease to go around. And what the city revenue is, and with with remote working in the city, is got to be down. That the spaces, and then obviously tourism's probably down a little bit. I mean, it all contributes to the bottom line, and that's hurtful to the fire service, to the police departments, whoever. But
yep.
I don't want to. I mean, I raised the flag. There's nothing else I can do. When she says, "Do with what you got," yes, ma'am. She hasn't told me that. Don't get me wrong, but hopefully she says, here's a couple $1 million, and I'm gonna try to solve some problems 3 years from now, of course. But nothing immediately. But I just, man, it's crazy.
Well, if you guys could boil down what we've talked about today into one takeaway for the audience that for the people watching or listening that are having similar, maybe on a smaller scale, not much, there probably are many that are having it on a bigger scale than what Mark's going through right now, but for those who are having similar fleet maintenance challenges that are and when you think about the volunteer side, we could have, and we run the gamut of age of fire apparatus that's in frontline service. So if there's anything you could offer as just one takeaway for those who are also experiencing this at whatever scale they're experiencing it, what would the one takeaway be in terms of addressing all this? Ricky, I'll start with you on this one.
I mean, we've never had to need to take care of our apparatus more than we do right now. I mean, firefighters, and I'm being included in that, is notoriously been bad to our apparatus. We don't treat it as nice as we should. We don't clean it as much as we do. It gets us to a fire, it gets us to an emergency, it gets us to a medical call, and then we don't quite take care of it. It's just the amount of money that we're spending on them. We have to take care of them. And I, when I get a chance, we got that, the one with the oil pan leak today. I'm like, all right, here's the mileage reduction program. Let's keep it for more than a couple days. Let's get all these things knocked out. Let's massage it, make sure everything's good on it. So we're keeping it up to date rather than, hey, send it right back. And then there's a long list of repairs on it that still need to get done, but we got to get it back in service. Taking care of those rigs, taking care of the ambulances, nobody likes taking care of those things with the boxes on the back, but man, EMS is big, man. If you can't get somebody to the hospital, you want to find a boss in trouble quick, that would be it. So, but have all the problems that the bosses have to deal with every day. We're trying to keep it going, and with our great, with my great staff, I think we're keeping them above water, but it's got to come crashing down. I mean, 200 to 300,000 miles on an ambulance, not good. How
about you, Mark? One thing.
I think it's never been more important to plan ahead than it is right now. That's absolutely critical. So if you're planning on an apparatus purchase, that you need to make in the next few years, you've got to add 2 years to that process. You've got to try to accelerate it. So if you've got a rig that you're going to need to replace in 5 years, start working on your spec now, get things in order so that you can get that order in as soon as possible. Because the lead times are so long now, you've got to order sooner than you were planning to.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you again for jumping in with me here on this. If any of the watchers or listeners have any questions for either Ricky or Mark that you think of later, let me know. I'm at chris.mcloone@clarionevents.com. Also, you can email me if you have a topic that hasn't been addressed that you'd like to see us address. We've got plenty of experts out there that we can get in here to have a good conversation. So again, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. Again, this has been Chris McLoone with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Have a good one and stay safe. Thanks again, guys.